Phone here, National Director of Priests for Life. Happy Feast of the Assumption. I hope this has been and continues to be a blessed day for you. It certainly has been a happy and blessed day for me, and I want to reflect with you about a few very important things and give you my daily diary as usual, pray a little bit more with you, and give you some very important reflections on the tragedy of abortion in our midst, and what kind of priests and what kind of politicians you want. And that's the question that I want to pose to you here at the outset. We're going to talk about some hard things here, hard things to digest, and yet morally very simple and clear and straightforward black and white things. What kind of priest do you want? One who is a normal human being, a healthy human being, who understands good from evil, who knows what has to be proclaimed as the truth, and who proclaims it even if it ends up dividing people? Or do you want the kind who can't seem to get too excited about denouncing evil and just wants to bring everybody together to like one another and never mind about the solid moral issues of our time? What kind of priests do you want? And what kind of politicians do you want? What kind of public servants do you want in the governor's office, in the state legislature, in the United States House of Representatives, in the U.S. Senate, in the White House? What kind of public servants do you want? The kind that can tell the difference between serving the public and killing the public? The kind who know that there is a right and wrong, who know that they have an obligation to protect life, and who are going to be steadfast in proclaiming that and courageous in carrying it out? Or do you want the kind of public servant who can't seem to tell the difference between serving the public and killing the public, who thinks somehow that the killing of babies by abortion is doing somebody some good, helping people, advancing women's rights and women's health? What kind of public officials do you want? Well, brothers and sisters, it's time to choose. Now, we don't choose the kind of priests that are assigned to us in our churches, but we can choose the kind of priests that we want to listen to and support and rally behind and spread their messages. But we do get to choose the kind of public officials we have, and as the U.S. bishops have said, their virtue or lack thereof is a reflection not only on them, but on us. We, the voters, get to decide. Now, I have next to me here tonight something that you usually do not see when I come on these broadcasts, but I want to use it to make a point, and then I'm going to go into another reflection about the Feast of the Assumption. Then I want to tell you about a little bit about my day today, and then we'll conclude with a prayer and blessing. But this is a very disturbing medical diagram of what an abortion actually is. And you know, that's the thing I always say about abortion, is that the debate is way too abstract, and so many who use the word don't know what it means anymore, including those public officials who claim to support it. They can't even define it. They don't even know what they mean by it. I've brought this diagram, but this was produced, by the way, by Nucleus Medical Media. They produce medical diagrams for textbooks, for court cases, and so forth. And I brought this diagram into members of Congress, members of the U.S. Senate, and asked them or their legislative aides, you know, when the senator says the word abortion, is this what they mean? Tearing the baby apart limb from limb. Is this what they mean when they say the word abortion? And nobody could give me a straight answer. Oh, we don't know. How many legislative aides I had tell me in the halls of the United States Senate, oh, well, we don't know whether that's what the senator means. And I said to them, you mean to tell me that you are the legislative aide for this senator, and one of the key topics in our country of legislative debate, you don't even know what the senator means when he says the word? Is that what you mean to tell me? Brothers and sisters, this takes abortion out of the abstract realm and down to the concrete reality of what it is. You see, this procedure is called dilation and evacuation, D&E, 23-week-old baby here, you see what happens very, very simply and very, very in a horrifying way. These forceps are introduced. The abortionist grabs the baby's leg and literally rips it off. There you see the legs, the arms are grabbed, and they're ripped off, and they're pulled through. And we're not making this up. This is from the medical textbooks on abortion. We have court testimony and Supreme Court cases describing exactly what you are seeing here. This is happening legally every day in the United States of America, and don't let people think that this is only, don't let people make you think that this is only done when there's a complicated pregnancy or a threat to the mother's health or the baby's going to die anyway. Oh no, this is taking place on healthy babies of healthy mothers, and we've got the phone calls on our website to prove it. In fact, one of these days here on Facebook Live, we'll play some of those phone calls for you. But people can get appointments, healthy moms can get appointments to kill healthy babies at this stage of pregnancy in exactly the way that I'm showing you here. The baby's insides are taken out piece by piece. The last piece to be removed is the head, and it is removed in fragments. The skull is crushed, and the pieces are brought out one at a time. This is abortion. Now, here's what I want to ask you. Why would I, as a priest, now follow me here, brothers and sisters, and I want you to tell me, as I'm asking these questions, give me your answers here on Facebook. Just type in your answer. I want to hear from you. Why would I, as a priest, tell people about this and tell them that it's wrong? Exactly what is the reason? Why would you want to tell people about this and tell them that it's wrong? Now, as far as I'm concerned, ultimately, the answer to those two questions is the same. You may not be a priest. Maybe there are some priests watching. I hope there are. But you may not be a priest. Most of the time, most of the people I'm talking to right now are not priests. I am. But when it comes to something like this, tell me exactly what difference it makes. I mean, if I take my collar off, does the baby's leg still come off? Does the baby's arm still get torn away? Does the skull still get crushed and brought out in fragments if I'm not wearing a collar? Why would I get upset about this and tell other people about this when they don't know that it's happening and urge them to help me stop this from happening? You know why I would do that? I'll tell you. Because I'm a human being, and so are you. It's from our humanity that we realize, hey, you know what? This is wrong. Well, let me ask you the question this way. When you see this diagram, and when you hear me describe, or you hear the abortionists or the medical textbooks or the court testimonies describe the pulling off of a leg or arm, these are living babies, okay? Pulling off the legs and arms of living babies. Let me ask you a question. Do you have to go open your Bible before you can tell me that this is wrong? What page of the catechism do you need to go to figure out, after I explain this to you and show you this diagram, do you take this diagram, go over and open the catechism and try to figure out from some page in that book whether or not this is okay? Of course not. We believe in the catechism. I believe in the catechism. I know many of you do, but that's not why we say that this is wrong. We look at this and we know that this is wrong. We don't have to go. Now, later on, when we go to the Bible, later on, when we go to the catechism, there we see, of course, a reinforcement in very strong terms why this is wrong, but we don't need that to tell us this is wrong. We just have to look at this. And this is why I find it so disingenuous and, in fact, absurd when people actually try to say to me that because I'm a priest, I shouldn't be talking about this the way that I do, because after all, get ready for this one, it divides people. I'm just going to let that sink in for a minute. I don't know whose intelligence people who say that are insulting more. Ours or their own. You're going to tell me that I'm a priest and we look at a living baby's arms and legs being torn off, and we're not supposed to divide the people who think that this is wrong from the people who think this is okay? We're supposed to not let those people be divided? What about the people who support this? What about when it comes to the political parties? There's one political party, major political party, that says this must stop and it must stop now, and it can never be permitted again, and that's the Republican Party. There's another party that wants this to continue, as a matter of fact, wants us to pay for it with our tax dollars, and that's the Democratic Party. Just read their platforms. Don't take my word for it, ask them. See, and some people say, well, you know, the political parties, there are some parties that agree with this and some parties who oppose it, but I won't tell you who those parties are. Well, I will, because a lot of people don't know it. And it's time for all of us, based on our common humanity, to open our mouths and to say something. It's an atrocity that we have a major political party thinking that this is okay. And that party is the Democratic Party. Their platform says that a 23-week baby, healthy mother, doesn't put any restriction on letting this happen, and wants to take away the restriction that's currently in place, called the Hyde Amendment, saying that tax dollars should not pay for somebody else's abortion. Now, I'm sorry, you know, when it comes to matters of prudential judgment, there are a lot of ways that politicians and candidates and political parties will differ, and people of faith and people of common human decency can come to different conclusions on matters of public policy or matters of politics. Let people come to different conclusions. It's not our role as priests or our role as a church to set up a political party. I agree with that. But brothers and sisters, this is not a matter of prudential judgment. This is not simply some kind of policy disagreement or political argument. Let's wake up. This is the tearing apart of a living baby. If we can't stand up and speak about this out of our basic humanity and speak out about those who are supporting this kind of activity and those who are opposing it, simply because, oh, we're supposed to be promoting harmony and unity, unity between what? People who are allowing and funding the mass murder of children and people who happen to oppose it? You want me to bring those people together and say, hey, I'm not going to challenge you for cutting off the heads of babies. Let's just all get along. And so I'm asking you again right now, is that the kind of priest that you want? Or do you want the kind of priest that we are here at Priests for Life, who are not afraid to stand up and not only point out this violence that's going on, but point out why it's going on. And one of the major reasons it's going on is because we have a political party in this country that wants it to continue, and that's the Democratic Party. And it's time to say, if they're going to come against these babies and allow this to continue to happen, they cannot be in power, and they cannot get our vote. So, brothers and sisters, this is where the rubber hits the road. This is where, it gets real. Either we're going to do something about this or we're not. Either we're going to stop this violence or we're going to pretend that we can be neutral in the face of terrorism. Because for the baby, tell me that this isn't terrorism. Any of you out there, try to tell me that this isn't terrorism. And we're gonna sit by and say, I'm above the fray. I'm above the fray. I'm not getting into that divisive stuff over there. I'm not getting into that partisan politics over. I'm above all of that. Give me a break. Stop insulting my intelligence and that of everybody in this audience and your own intelligence as well. Nobody is above the fray if they are human beings and they see this happening to other human beings. So, friends, let me pause it there. Oh, you know, there's something about this. This is 23 weeks. Okay, these procedures are being done all through pregnancy. And those phone calls I told you about, we have phone calls of mothers saying that they're healthy mothers carrying healthy babies at 32 weeks of pregnancy, and they get an appointment to have the baby killed. But we have in the United States Congress, and back in January, the U.S. Senate voted on a bill to protect babies at this stage of pregnancy. The bill, the Pain-Capable Unborn Child Protection Act, pain-capable, these babies can feel pain when their arms and legs are ripped off. The Pain-Capable Unborn Child Protection Act would protect babies from 20 weeks of development forward. And it was passed by the House of Representatives, actually. And when it came to the Senate last January, you know, the first thing they have to do before they pass a piece of legislation like this is to take a vote to end debate and to bring it to the final vote, right? So they had this vote, and the Senate was pretty divided. And by and large, as you see with many of these abortion-related votes, the Republicans voted to proceed with the motion. Let's bring this to a vote, and let's vote to protect these babies. The Democrats said no. We don't want this. We don't want this bill to come to a full vote. We don't want to stop these procedures. Democrat senators said that. There were a couple of senators, though, including the one here from the state where I live in Florida, Senator Bill Nelson, and also Senator Tammy Baldwin from Wisconsin. So all you folks from Florida and Wisconsin, let me know that you're there. Write me a little comment. Hey, tell me where you're from. I'm from Florida, I'm from Wisconsin, because I've got something for you specifically to do. Now, everybody else can listen in too, because you're likely, if you're in a different part of the country, you know people in Florida, you know people in Wisconsin, but here's what I'm going to tell you that we need to do. In Florida, Senator Bill Nelson needs to hear from you. As a matter of fact, you can call him if you're in another state too. Why not? His vote or his lack of vote affects the whole country when it comes to pieces of legislation like this. He's a United States senator. It's not just a Florida senator. He's helping to make policy for the whole country. And same thing with Senator Tammy Baldwin in Wisconsin. Okay, so two senators. You know what happened in January when the Senate was faced with the question of whether they were going to take action to protect babies from this happening to them? And once again, arms and legs being torn off, heads being crushed and brought out in fragments. So these senators are asked, well, are we going to do something about this or not? Senator Baldwin from Wisconsin and Senator Nelson from here in Florida did not vote. They couldn't answer the question. Are we going to proceed and try to protect these babies? Yes or no? And they didn't answer the question. So how do you explain that? Trying to dodge the question, right? But the point is you got to get them to admit that. Dodge the question. Do I know as a public official whether or not these babies should be protected? If for some reason I say that they should not be protected, that's, shame on you if you say that. I mean, that's kind of weird. What are you, a barbarian? You don't want these babies to be protected? And yes, and yet a lot of the senators, again, Democrat senators, said, no, we don't want them to be protected. So how they justify that, you got to ask them. But not to vote at all? That's like the worst of the options. Because it's like you don't even have the courage of your convictions. Like you don't want to take the heat for saying, no, let's let this barbarity continue. And yet you don't want to take the principled stand of saying, no, we cannot let this continue. We have to protect these babies. They didn't vote at all. So what we're doing is we're asking people to call these two senators and ask them why they didn't vote. Yeah, this happened back in January, so they've had plenty of time to think about it, plenty of time to formulate their response. Ask them why they didn't vote. And you can go to our main website, ProLifeCentral.org, ProLifeCentral.org, and you'll see the action box. There's a red action box at the top of the site, and you'll see we guide you through the steps of how to make the phone calls and ask these senators what was going through your mind when you failed to vote on such a basic and important question. Okay. So, friends, thanks for listening to me here tonight. Today was a very good day here at the Priest for Life office. We did lots of things. I was, again, involved in lots of meetings with staff, lots of phone calls, lots of strategizing and planning. You know, one of the things we're getting ready for is the Life Chain Sunday. That's the first weekend of October, and Life Chain has been going on for a long time, and I've been in communication this week with people who lead the Florida Life Chain, and we're going to help, we're based here now, we're going to help very much in promoting that around the state, but also we help, obviously, the national life chain from coast to coast, and that's coming up. So some of my meetings and conversations have been about that. Also in regard to, some bishops that support our work. I was in communication with some bishops today as we continue to chart forward our course for Priests for Life. And we also welcomed a wonderful group of homeschooling families today here to our Priests for Life office. We had, they're here on the, oh yes, some of you are watching. Thank you very much. We welcomed a great group here. We had Mass for the Feast of the Assumption, and then we gave the group a tour of our new facility, and we invited them, of course, to come as volunteers. And some of you that are watching here tonight that are not necessarily in this group, but maybe you live relatively close by, come and volunteer for us. We have lots of work going on. And as a matter of fact, and I'll be saying this more and more in the months to come, but many of you who live in other parts of the country do come down to Florida for a little bit of time in the winter. And I want to say that when you do, actually any time of the year that you do, please, if you're a follower of Priests for Life, if you're one of our supporters, if you're involved in the pro-life effort, stop by our headquarters here in Titusville. And if you're going to be staying in Florida for a period of weeks, why not consider coming to give some time for volunteering? That would be really a big, big welcome help from you in that regard. So we had this group here today, and it was really marvelous. And they heard from Alvita King, who came in by Skype and talked to the group, and they also were able to venerate the first-class relic of Pope St. John Paul II, which we have here in our chapel, a little bit of his blood. And they were able to venerate that relic. Really a wonderful day. And so a lot of other planning and activities going on. Final preparations for my trip tomorrow and Friday. The next 2 days I will be in Michigan. And I know we got a lot of followers and viewers here on this broadcast from the state of Michigan. I'll be coming up there to speak at a banquet tomorrow night for one of the local affiliates of Right to Life of Michigan. And then on Friday, a voter training seminar, and we're going to talk about making a difference in this year's elections. So a great day today. I'm very, very happy. And of course, it's always joyful for us to celebrate the Feast of the Assumption. And let me conclude with some words and prayers about the Feast of the Assumption. Friends, this is the victory of life over death. That's what the Assumption is about. Every Feast of Mary is really a feast of Jesus as well. It's primarily about Jesus. Everything that Mary enjoys, as special privileges and blessings from God, are given to her precisely because of her Son, to whom she leads us, to whom she prays for us, Jesus Christ, the only Lord and Savior. And so he, because he's the conqueror of death, preserved Mary from corruption in the tomb, but gave her a full share instead in the victory of life, body and soul, right at the end of her own earthly journey. And marvelous victory that we all share in too, because at the end of time, Christ will raise our mortal bodies to be like his own in glory. So we will have life in Christ, both in body and in soul, and of course that life has already begun for us who have believed and been baptized. So this is a great feast of hope. It's a great feast of the victory of life. And we celebrate the victory of life by giving life to others. We celebrate the victory of life by defending life. We celebrate the victory of life in body and soul by protecting the bodies of babies that are dismembered in violent abortion procedures like this. By opposing this, by speaking up against this, by reaching out and saving lives. We are showing God our gratitude for the gift of life in Christ Jesus, and we are extending the blessing of that life to others. So the Assumption motivates us to be even more pro-life. That's the beauty of this feast today. I always remember one of the Feast of the Assumptions, the Assumption days when I was in parish work in a parish in Staten Island, New York. I was going to an Assumption barbecue, and our executive director, Janet Morana, she was one of my parishioners back then. So she was a parishioner of mine before Priests for Life even got started. And on the Feast of the Assumption, we had a barbecue of various people of the parish, and we made that day, or she and her family made a cupcake rosary. It was really beautiful. One of these days I have to show you a picture of it. Cupcake rosary. And of course, we're celebrating this victory of life. But as I was going there, it wasn't too far of a distance from the church, I noticed that there had been some kind of accident on the road. And sadly, what happened was that one of the women in the community had been hit by a bus. And so, by a car. She walked in front of a bus that stopped for her, and another car didn't see that she was walking there and hit her. And she died. I prayed over the body, and then I ministered to the family, and then we provided ongoing support for that family in the subsequent months and years. But the lesson of that day was very, very striking, of course, because here we were celebrating the victory of life, body as well as soul. And there I was praying over this body that had been hit, and that this person who had died. And with the faith of Christians, with the faith strengthened in our hearts by the Assumption, brothers and sisters, that's how we have to face all of these tragedies in life. That's how we have to face the prospect of our own sicknesses and death. We know that death, no matter what form it takes, never has the last word. And that's the bottom line of our Feast of the Assumption. Death does not have the last word. Life does. The human story is not birth, life, and death. The human story is life, death, and resurrection. Life is victorious over every form of death, including this one. Life is victorious over abortion. And that's why we fight it with confidence, with greater energy than ever, and looking forward to victory. So let's pray together. From my book, Pro-Life Reflections for Every Day, Feast of the Assumption. The Mighty One has done great things for me, we read in the first chapter of Luke. In the human family which God decided to join, there can be no closer bond than mother and child. They belong together. Their destinies are intertwined. That is one of the central messages of the pro-life movement. To love and care for a mother necessarily means protecting, loving, and caring for her child. Let us pray. Blessed Virgin Mother, on this day of joy we honor you. Pray for us and for the victory of life. Amen. And finally, our prayer novena prayer for the Assumption, of course, concluding today. Prayercampaign.org has all our different novenas. The next one's going to be the Mother Teresa novena. It starts, let's see, when will it start? It'll start at the end of next week. But let's say the Assumption prayer for life. Lord Jesus Christ, you have conquered the power of death and opened for humanity the hope of eternal life in body and in soul. You granted your mother a share in heavenly glory and did not allow decay to touch her body. Through the wonder of the Assumption, grant us new confidence in the victory of life over death and renewed reverence for the human body. As we honor Mary assumed into heaven, may we proclaim the hope of your gospel, that you want every human life seated on your throne. May that hope strengthen us to protect every life here on earth. You live and reign forever and ever. Amen. Before I give you the blessing, friends, let me remind you about two other websites. Prayer intentions that you have, let me know what they are at prayerintentions.org. And our whole Priest for Life team will pray for those intentions. Prayerintentions.org. You can put your intentions there, and you can also order Mass cards for the living and for the deceased. And finally, would you support our work? Help us to bring the truth about abortion far and wide. Help us to save these children. Help us to work for change in legislation. Help us to support the pregnancy centers with our presence and our counsel and our training. ProLifeDonation.org is our donation website, and we certainly need your help. We don't get funding from the government or big foundations or the church or the Vatican or the dioceses. No, we get our help only from people like you. That's it. That's how we do our work. That's how we have this studio. That's how we go out on the road. That's how we employ people like Alveda King and others on our team. So ProLifeDonation.org, you'll be able to help all of this great work take place. So thanks so much for spending time with me tonight, for praying with us, for listening to these reflections. Thank you especially for doing the work of the pro-life movement. We'll be there to support you every step of the way. I'll be talking to you tomorrow from Michigan, so tune in tomorrow night. You'll see my talk live. Presuming everything goes well up there with the signal, I think it will. We'll bring you the talk live here on Facebook. Meanwhile, have a restful night and a blessed day tomorrow. May the Lord bless you through the intercession of the Blessed Virgin Mary, protect you, and give you his joy in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Father Frank Pavone here of Priests for Life. God bless you.